Okay, continuing on where we left off before, we're talking about zero product property again. If two numbers are being multiplied together to equal 0, one of those two numbers must equal 0. So we have 2d plus 6 and 3d minus 15 being multiplied together to equal 0. That again means that one of those two things must equal 0. So one of these two equations has to be true. We would then solve that equation. So we'd start by subtracting 6 from each side, which would give us 2d equals negative 6. Divide by 2. Our first potential answer is d equals negative 3. Same thing on the other side. Add 15 to each side, and then divide by 3 would give us d equals 5. Show the work real quickly here in red. So again, that was subtract 6 from each side, and then divide by 2. Add 15 to each side, and then divide by 3. Same thing on the next one. We're going to split those two things that are being multiplied up, and we are going to set them equal to 0. So 3n equals 0, or n plus 2 equals 0. Solve. So here we would divide by 3. Here we would subtract 2. And we would get the answers n equals 0 and n equals negative 2. So now we're going to put it all together. We're going to talk about solving by factoring. Here are 4 examples of quadratic equations that we're going to solve by factoring. What we're going to do here is first step is to make sure that it is equal to 0, which in I and j is not a problem. It is already equal to 0. But on the other two, we're going to have to rearrange a little bit. Once they are equal to 0, we are then going to factor. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to positive 12 and add to negative 7. That would be negative 3 and negative 4. Once it's in that format where it's been factored, we then need to split it up into two separate equations because either x minus 3 is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. That gives us our solutions when we solve those equations of x equals 3 or x equals 4. On j, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to 10. That would be 9 and 1. Again, once that's factored, one of those two factors has to equal 0. So we would then solve those equations, giving us c is negative 9 or c is negative 1. Okay, on m, we cannot factor this thing until it is all on one side. So your first step is going to be to subtract 15 from each side of the equation, which would give us the equation x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Then we would factor, so we're looking for a pair of numbers that multiplies to negative 15 and adds to negative 2, which would be x minus 5 or x plus 3. Once again, we're going to split that into two separate equations because either x minus 5 is equal to 0 or x plus 3 is equal to 0. And then we'll solve those equations, giving us our answers of either x is positive 5 or x is negative 3. Same thing for letter n. We need to move the x term. So we add x to each side, which is going to be inserted between x squared and 20. So we'll have the equation x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. Remember that is a 1x. There is a 1 in front of it. So we go to factor. We're looking for a pair of numbers that multiply to negative 20 and add to positive 1. That would be positive 5 and negative 4. Split that up into two separate equations, x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0, and solve each equation, giving us our answers of x equals negative 5 and x equals positive 4. That's it for this lesson. Thank you for your time.